point, Saudi Arabia had to reduce production and surrender, which proved that oil alone could not sustain the economy. Nonetheless, Mohammed has not developed any retreatment of his vision for Saudi Arabia, even as he faced these setbacks. Later on in 2018, he launched the Haramain Express, which is a high-speed railway between Mecca and Medina. This project is just one of the many that he has supported as part of his drive towards economic reforms of infrastructure projects. However, through all of this, there was one thing Mohammed couldn't ignore, and it was his need to get rich. Mohammed's obsession with hoarding wealth. Mohammed's journey to power was marked by privilege, but also a desire to overcome the challenges of his upbringing. Despite being the 8th child of King Salman and the firstborn to the king's 3rd wife, Mohammed's childhood was shaped by financial anxieties. Unlike some of his siblings who were educated abroad, Mohammed stayed in Saudi Arabia, which allowed him to understand the inner workings of the royal family and its rivals. As a teenager, Mohammed learned that his father had not amassed a significant fortune despite decades in power, and this realization drove him to seek wealth and power from a young age. By 16, he had accumulated around $100,000 by selling gold coins and luxury watches he received as gifts. He used this money to begin trading stocks and eventually launched his own companies, including a trash collection business and real estate ventures. Mohammed's ruthless drive for success earned him a reputation, and by the time he became crown prince, he had already demonstrated his willingness to do whatever it took to secure his position. He then proceeded to do something that shook the political landscape to its core: the Grand Purge. Back in May of 2017, Mohammed launched a sweeping anti-corruption campaign that shook up the Saudi elite. However, it wasn't just the political and business landscape that changed. This was also a time when Mohammed's own image started to shift. He made it clear that no one, not even princes or ministers, would be immune from scrutiny. His words were bold, almost as if he was announcing a new time of accountability. This stance, paired with his growing influence, began to reshape how people saw him. By November of the same year, things escalated dramatically. Mohammed ordered the arrest of around 200 wealthy businessmen and princes. These were high-profile figures, many of whom had been untouchable in Saudi society. And where did they end up? They were all put under house arrest at the luxurious Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh. This was a bold political move, but it was also a statement. The choice of location was symbolic, blending opulence with containment, showing the world that power and privilege wouldn't protect anyone from Mohammed's crackdown. Among those arrested was Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, a billionaire with a significant presence in global business, owning stakes in Citi, News Corp, and Twitter. His arrest shook the business world, and it was a clear signal that Mohammed was serious about this purge. As these events unfolded, Mohammed's appearance and demeanor seemed to reflect the gravity of his actions. The youthful energy that once characterized him began to harden into a more intense presence. However, the story took a darker turn when reports started emerging about what happened behind the closed doors of the Ritz-Carlton. The night of arrests soon earned a notorious nickname: the Night of Beating. It became clear that those detained weren't just confined. They were subjected to harsh interrogations. Sleep deprivation and even torture were reportedly used to extract information, particularly about offshore assets. This was no longer just about cleaning up corruption. It was about consolidating power. And as these reports came to light, Mohammed's image took on a strange tone. The young reformist prince was now seen by some as a ruthless enforcer, willing to do whatever it took to secure his position. The aftermath of this purge was significant. Politically, it allowed Mohammed to centralize power in a way that hadn't been seen in Saudi Arabia before. He sidelined the faction loyal to the late King Abdullah and took control of all three branches of the security forces. This consolidation of power eliminated rivals, but also established Muhammad as the undisputed leader of Saudi Arabia, and as his power grew, so did his presence. He began to carry himself with a confidence that bordered on the regal, fully embodying his role as the future king. The global reaction to Muhammad's actions was mixed. The New York Times and other outlets noted that this was clearly a power play, a way to solidify his control over the kingdom. Yet some speculated that there might be more to it. Was this just a move to eliminate rivals? Or was there a genuine effort to reform the country's deeply ingrained corruption? The truth, as always, seemed to lie somewhere in between. Interestingly, while some saw the purge as a brutal power grab, others, particularly the younger Saudi population, viewed it as a necessary step toward reform. Muhammad had positioned himself as a modernizer, someone who was willing to break with tradition to bring Saudi Arabia into the 21st century. The support Muhammad garnered from international leaders like then-President Donald Trump only reinforced his growing image as a powerful and decisive leader. Trump's tweets backing the purge and the visit from French President Emmanuel Macron shortly after underscored Muhammad's rising influence on the global stage. This wasn't just about Saudi Arabia anymore. Muhammad was becoming a key player in international politics. As the dust settled on the purge, the Saudi government eventually announced the conclusion of the anti-corruption campaign in January of 2019. By then, as many as 500 people had been caught up in the sweep, with over 2,000 domestic accounts frozen. The financial implications were staggering, with assets worth hundreds of billions of dollars either seized or frozen. However, while Muhammad was a hero in front of the world, the same couldn't be said about his life at home. A troubled, personal life. Muhammad's story took a significant turn in April 2008 when he married his first cousin, Sarah bint Mashur. Sarah, the daughter of Muhammad's paternal uncle, became his partner in what would be a high-profile marriage. Together they have 5 children. The names of the first 4 children were carefully chosen to honor their grandparents, a nod to tradition and family lineage. Their 5th child, however, carries the name of his great-grandfather, King Abdulaziz, the founder of modern Saudi Arabia, a powerful reminder of the family's legacy. However, behind the scenes, life was not always as it appeared. In 2022, reports surfaced that painted a darker picture of their marriage. The Economist claimed that on at least one occasion, Muhammad's treatment of Sarah turned violent, so much so that she required medical attention. This revelation added a shadow to the otherwise polished image Muhammad often projected. However, throughout his life, there's only one thing that has remained constant: Muhammad's penchant for luxury. The Saudi royal family is one of the richest in the world. It possesses around $1.4 trillion US. To put that into perspective, that is 16 times as much as the worth of the British royal family. This vast wealth is mainly owed to the country's large oil resources that were discovered 75 years ago. This discovery made the House of Saud the richest family on earth in terms of oil revenue. Also, the royal family comprises about 15,000 people, and their lifestyle is something that many of us can only dream of. They live in grand mansions with no regard for cost. The main source of their huge income is Saudi Aramco, the national oil and gas company that is one of the largest and most profitable organizations on the globe. This company does not only provide for the kingdom's economy, but also the standards of the royal elites. It is quite obvious that the royal family, with their luxurious lifestyle, has always been quite a subject of controversy. Many people have accused them of being reckless and outspending everybody else in unimaginable ways. Mohammed bin Salman eventually became the crown prince, but everything remained the same in this kingdom. The royal family, in terms of expenditure, is simply mind-blowing. Whether it is super yachts that are covered in gold fixtures and fittings, private jets, or palaces with golden furniture, the lavishness does not end. They think that it is normal to use tissue paper from a gold-plated dispenser